We're being told that a partial shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security is a national crisis, that flights will be delayed, that bureaucrats will be furloughed, that Washington once again is paralyzed. But here is the blunt truth. Nothing fundamental about America's immigration enforcement machine is going to change. ICE continues to operate with full funding, full authority, and full force, even as Congress bickers. The shutdown makes for dramatic headlines. It does not stop the raids. The standoff was triggered by Democratic efforts to impose new guardrails after two civilians, Renee Good and Alex Pretty, were shot and killed by federal agents in Minneapolis. Lawmakers proposed requiring judicial warrants before home arrests and banning agents from conducting operations in masks. Republicans rejected those limits, negotiations collapsed, a partial DHS shutdown followed.
That we are trying to achieve. Now, there are several things, common sense, strong proposals that we've put on the table that to date Republicans have rejected, including a requirement that judicial warrants be obtained before ICE agents can storm the homes of the American people or private property. We also believe that ICE agents, of course, should be trained, should have a excessive use of force policy that they adhere to, and that they shouldn't be able to target sensitive locations like schools and hospitals, houses of worship, and polling sites. And we finally believe, of course, in terms of some of the top-line demands that we've made, is that there should be independent investigations whenever it is the case that ICE agents or CBP agents break state and local law.
Core enforcement arms, including immigration and customs enforcement and customs and border protection, were funded through previous appropriations. ICE agents are considered essential personnel. They don't go home during a shutdown. They don't pause operations. Arrests, transfers, detention, deportations, and murders continue. The shutdown is real, but it's peripheral to the central apparatus of enforcement. And that apparatus is not merely continuing, it is expanding. This week, Barack Obama, who chose to be interviewed by one of my independent journalist colleagues, publicly warned about what he described as the unprecedented nature of ICE operations in Minneapolis. Federal agents deployed without clear guidelines, pulling people from homes, using aggressive tactics against communities. His concern was not simply about isolated incidents, but about the normalization of a style of enforcement that feels less like civil administration and more like occupation. At the same time, plans are underway to bring 12,000 new ICE agents online after just 47 days of training. 47 days. That timeline should stop people cold. Policing in America typically requires months, often more than half a year of academy training before an officer is deployed. Immigration enforcement agents armed with federal authority, tactical gear, and broad arrest powers are now slated to swell in number after training that barely stretches beyond a month and a half. It signals scale. It signals urgency. It signals a government preparing for volume. Imagine what America feels like with 12,000 additional agents conducting raids, executing warrants, operating checkpoints, and moving detainees into a rapidly expanding network of facilities. Enforcement that already feels militarized will become more visible, more normalized, more embedded in everyday life. In Minneapolis and St. Paul, federal operations escalated into what many residents described as a militarized presence. Tactical vehicles rolled through neighborhoods. Heavily armed agents appeared in coordinated formations. Civilians were caught in the dragnet. The deaths of Renee and Alex intensified public outrage, but enforcement did not retreat. Protests followed, and tear gas followed the protests. In one widely reported incident, federal agents boxed in a U.S. citizen's vehicle at gunpoint because she was recording them. The local police chief had to intervene to secure her release. That moment crystallized the unease that many Americans feel. ICE operates with extraordinary autonomy, sometimes in visible tension with local authorities. It does not function like a typical community policing force. It conducts coordinated, often militarized operations with broad discretion and limited transparency. Critics increasingly describe ICE as resembling a paramilitary body, a federal force with its own command logic, tactical posture, and expanding manpower. The language used to describe this evolution is growing sharper. Some warn of Nazified enforcement, shorthand for a style of policing defined by masked agents, centralized detention, and state power exercised with minimal public oversight. The anxiety behind such comparisons reflects something real: fear of unchecked executive power combined with rapid militarization. That fear is amplified by what is happening simultaneously behind the scenes. Internal planning documents show that federal officials intend to spend roughly $38 billion to dramatically expand immigration detention capacity by acquiring and converting industrial warehouses into regional processing centers and mega facilities. 16 processing centers would hold between 1,000 and 1,500 people each. 8 larger hubs would each hold between 7,000 and 10,000 detainees at a time. Detainees would be funneled through intake centers and then transferred to centralized facilities where they could remain for weeks before deportation. One proposed facility in Merrimack, New Hampshire, carries an estimated retrofit cost of $158 million, plus another $146 million to operate during its first 3 years. Multiply that model nationwide, and the scale becomes staggering. This is not incremental growth. It is a structural redesign. The new system centralizes detention rather than scattering detainees wherever bed space exists. Individuals would move through a streamlined pipeline: apprehension, processing, centralized confinement, removal. Officials describe it as efficient and humane. Critics call the converted warehouses what they appear to be: human holding complexes built for throughput. Concentration camps.
I'm outside. It doesn't say out here. Now. And I've just been ordered to leave the premises. I'm outside of the Dilley facility here in South Texas. Can you hear that? They're shouting, "Let us out! Let us out!" There to be hundreds of people through the crack that I can see. And again, I was here for an attorney visit and they asked me to leave abruptly without telling me why, ordering people who were waiting to stand outside in the cold.
Layer that infrastructure expansion on top of 12,000 new agents trained in just 47 days, and the trajectory becomes clear. More arrests, faster processing, greater detention capacity, a self-reinforcing system to ethnically cleanse America. The shutdown does not interrupt this. It does not slow hiring. It does not halt construction. It does not freeze contracts. Profit is still at the heart of these projects. And funding for expansion was appropriated previously. The machine was built to withstand political turbulence. So while cable news panels debate who won the shutdown standoff, the enforcement architecture grows sturdier. Agents continue to conduct operations. New recruits move through compressed training cycles. Warehouses are evaluated and retrofitted. Contracts are signed. The footprint expands. What changes for ordinary Americans is not just policy, it's atmosphere, it's stress, it's anxiety. Communities will see more raids, more unmarked vehicles, more federal jackets and tactical vests, more stories of neighbors detained, more videos of confrontations circulating online. For some Americans, particularly those in immigrant communities, daily life will feel different, more surveilled, more precarious, and more tense. For others, the shift may be subtler, a normalization of militarized presence in civilian spaces, an acceptance that large-scale detention facilities are part of the national landscape, a desensitization to headlines about mass arrests or even murders. The deeper question is not whether Congress resolves this funding dispute next week, it is whether Americans are prepared for what a 12,000-agent surge, combined with a billion-dollar detention infrastructure, means for the character of public life in the free West. If the shutdown ends tomorrow, ICE operations will look much the same as they do today, except bigger. If it drags on, they will still look much the same, except bigger. The headlines say shutdown. The reality is acceleration. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5-Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, on Global AF, on Legal AF, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with MeidasTouch.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.